pie squares are the thing that I make when I don't want to make a whole pumpkin pie, because it's super easy. There's no crust. It's just basically the filling. You put it in an 8 by 8 inch baking pan, and that's it. It is easy, easy, easy. All right, so the first thing we're going to do with this recipe is we have the dry stuff and we have the wet stuff. So we're going to start getting the wet stuff ready. And this is 1 cup non-dairy milk, which I'm using the West Soy organic plain unsweetened soy milk. You can use any kind of non-dairy milk that you like though. So that's 1 cup. And then 7 ounces of pitted dates that are cut up in there already. And this is what I got this time, whole fresh medjool dates yesterday. And if you've never cooked with a date, that's not a very attractive one. Let's see. This is what they look like. If they do have the little end on, you want to make sure that you remove that. And then you also want to make sure that this is probably, no, this one has the pit in it. Take that pit out because it's very hard. And even if you buy pitted dates, go ahead and cut each one in half just to make sure that they got all those pits out, because you don't want to miss a pit. It's just slows everything down. All right, so 1 cup milk, 7 ounces pitted dates, which is about 11 or 12 dates. And then we're going to do 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. If you don't like vanilla extract, you can use a vanilla bean. Okay. So this is our wet stuff. This has been soaking the dates and the milk for a while, just so the dates get nice and soft and we can blend them up. But we're just going to set these aside for now. And I'm using this because I'm just going to make my own flour. I like to show you guys how to do that. If you don't want to make your own flour, you can certainly buy whole grain oat flour, like this Bob's Red Mill. But I like grinding my own, number one, because I teach at True North Health Center and they don't buy any pre-ground store-bought flour if they need flour. They just grind their own, whether it's oats or rice or millet or quinoa or whatever. It's so easy to do. And then you don't have a lot of flour hanging around your house, old big bags of unused flour. All right, so 1 1/4 cups, there it is. This is just regular old-fashioned rolled oats. And this is what I'm using today, the Bob's Red Mill. I also don't use any gluten in my cooking, so I tend to stick to oat flour, millet flour. Mostly, what else do I use? Sometimes quinoa, but mostly the oat and the millet. Cornmeal I'll use sometimes. All right, so we're just going to blend this until it turns into a nice, looks like flour. So I'm going to put this into a medium mixing bowl. Make sure it's all out of there. And I'm going to add some pumpkin pie spice, 2 teaspoons. If you don't have pumpkin pie spice, you can use cinnamon with a little nutmeg. And I like to use a whisk. You can use a fork as well, just to make sure these 2 dry ingredients are thoroughly blended. That's always a good idea to do before you add the wet stuff. Okay. All right, we're going to use the Vitamix again for the wet stuff. And now we're going to put in our milk, dates, and vanilla. And blend it up till it's nice and smooth. Pour this into my bowl of dry ingredients. And now I'm going to add my can of 100% pure pumpkin. And I opened 2 different kinds just to show you the options, at least at Whole Foods, that they have. So this is organic pumpkin, 100% pumpkin, not a pumpkin pie mix or anything, no added sugar, just pumpkin, pureed pumpkin. And this is a Libby's brand. This one is the same, although it's not organic. And then you can see how they have different colors. Sometimes people will comment on my recipe blog like, oh, I made it, but mine was really dark. So you can see how if you use this brand, you're going to come out with a darker result than if you use this brand. And especially so just go ahead and add this to your bowl. All right, so I'm just going to mix this with my mixer here. Now if you use the store-bought pre-ground flour, you're probably going to have a little smoother batter. Or if you just kept blending it in your Vitamix, you'll get those oats even finer, and which will give you a smoother result. Okay. All right, so I'm going to set this aside while I get my pan ready. And I'm going to line this with some parchment paper. If you have a silicone 8x8 pan, you can use that as well. But I'm going to show you how to line this with parchment paper. So parchment paper is great because nothing sticks to it, no food sticks to it. You can put it into the oven up to, I forget what it is, 400 and something degrees. So it's great to have around instead of oiling and flouring your pans. Okay, so we want enough to go across the bottom and up the sides. All right, so the first thing you do is just fold this into quarters. Get your pan back, and then this corner where it's all together, we're going to hold that with our thumb in the middle of the pan and then press out to the edges and use our fingernail to kind of create a marking there so you can see where the edges are. And then if you need to trim a little bit off, just go around and then give a couple cuts into the corners so it will lay flatter. Open it up and press it in. All right, now we can put our batter on top. I like to use a frosting knife, but you can use whatever you have on hand and just spread it out so it's evenly into the corners and across the top. And once it's pretty even, just kind of go around like this to make it nice and smooth on top. And then you can keep going this way. You can do a circle, or you can just kind of go like this. And this is what I did last night when I made it. And then turn to the other side. Okay. You can go the other way if you want to smooth it further. It's kind of hard to do once you get this close, so you got to flip it around. Okay. All right. There we go. So we're going to bake this uncovered for 30 minutes at 375. So here they are. So I did use the pre-ground oat flour with this. If you don't have oat flour, you can use any kind of flour that you want, really. I just tend to use oat a lot because I don't do gluten in my recipes. So you can see these, they're kind of between a pumpkin pie consistency and a cake consistency, more like a torte. So they're moist and they're kind of heavy, which is great because you can take them with you. They just are a great like filling snack or dessert. So you can serve them. You know how some people will put a little powdered sugar on top of their lemon bars or the cookies or something. I don't use refined sugar, but flour looks just like powdered sugar. So you can take one, here let me switch positions here. You could take one like this and just, it helps to avoid the lumps if you use a little strainer like this. It's too much flour. And then just do this. I mean, it's such a little bit, no one's going to go, oh, that's flour. No. I mean, you can even do less than I did. So that's one nice way to do it. And another, you've seen me use this trick before, is to use your cheese grater, except with some nuts in there. And this isn't quite as fine as the flour, but you could do a little, maybe when it comes out of the oven, it's still moist on top, you could put a little ground nuts on top. Or you could press a pecan or a walnut or half a walnut into the top. There's so many ways you can garnish these. And then the last way is you can make the vanilla frosting, which is on page 188 of the cookbook. And I'm not going to show you how to make that today because I already made it. So I made some earlier and I put it in my cake decorating bag, just if you want to be extra cute. You don't have to do this, but I thought it would be fun. So you can, let's see what's best to do this. You can do it all the way around the edges, or you can just put a little bit on top like that. I think that's really cute. That's kind of how I did it in the cookbook picture. Or you can completely cover the top with frosting if you like. It is up to you. But these are pretty rich, they're pretty sweet, they don't need a lot of frosting, but a little bit is kind of fun, especially if you're doing a celebration and maybe you don't want cake, but you want something with a little bit of frosting on it. So maybe I'll put this one back on this plate so we can all be together.